when they learned, okay, the old model of news, the family will sit down or whatever, or your news will be 30 minutes or an hour each night, and that'll be it. And since there's only 3 channels, we're going to be talking to like 100 million people. So we're going to get lots and lots of different kinds of people. So we have to be as like bland and inoffensive as we can, and objective and high-minded. And all those ideas were always bullshit. But they perhaps led to
competing for the same giant slice of people, right? That's why you have to be just different enough from your competitors, but not any kind of outrageously different, or else you risk losing a majority.
And so when CNN, Fox News in the 90s, MSNBC learned that actually you can get people to watch for way longer if you tell them things that they want to hear, or that you tell them things that align with what they think.
So you get more advertising hours, but less people at a time.
You get more loyal and repetitive viewers,
but you get
stay longer and longer
of selling ads rather than peak time selling ads.
And your advertisers are like, okay, I know exactly who I'm selling to.
That's true. It makes it easier to make a commercial.
Thus, this is why you get the boner pills on Fox News or golf magazines or or
doesn't even need them.
On MSNBC. It's a commercial with Lawrence O'Donnell selling you index funds. While he's talking with his very dignified son in a restaurant. Are you securing your financial future, son?
I'm totally secure as yours, Father. How's yours?
It's not. I don't know what I'm talking about. I just feel like an idiot when I look at a website like the New York Times or Vox or whatever, and every story headline, and I see, I'm like, yeah, totally. That seems like something I believe. I do start to feel like a fucking rube. Is like I was selected to see these stories, or these stories were selected exactly for me. It's like the Miranda Priestley thing in Devil Wears Prada, where she's like to Anne Hathaway, she's like, you're wearing that Goodwill bargain bin sweater.
No, nothing is curated at Goodwill, sir. Bargain bin.
But it was you think that you're wearing a shirt that you picked to signify to the world, I don't care about fashion. Right. But actually, very smart people selected that sweater for people like you.
Right.
And people, and Lacey and I, and other fucking lefty bleeding hearts were selected to be viewing all these stories on Vox and the New York Times, and to listen to the podcasts where they're talking only about things that we agree with, and then commercials for the Doha debates and, Qatar or the United Arab Emirates. And you're like, this isn't strange at all that these advertisements are paid for by Gulf oil states or whatever. Like,
because they know how much we like those. Just kidding.
It gets you acclimated to the idea that these are good companies. These are good countries. Why would they want
to be on
the fact that
Save America?
All exists as product. It's all inventory. It all exists to sell.
We're all being bought by overlords, no matter what avenue we take while purchasing.
Exactly. It's all just to deliver you to advertisers, and then also, if you're on the internet, to deliver your browsing behavior and your data and all your personal information to sell to other people. And it's not like there's some more nefarious reason.
What do you recommend, Matt?
I don't have an answer. I have no idea. I think that the book Hate Inc. by Matt Taibbi, and Matt Taibbi is a very controversial guy, and I don't agree with a lot of what he says, but he says, like, the thing that the news will convince you to do is that the worst thing you could do is turn off the news.
Yeah.
And people feel
you're
like
addicted to it. I mean, you're addicted to your Twitter feed like that.
People feel like, no, it's good. I'm doing the responsible thing. I'm informing myself. I'm being.
Oh, yeah. You get to be moral about it.
Yeah. When in fact, you don't need to be that engaged. I don't know what the balance is. I think it is responsible to be informed, but how does one get informed? I don't fucking know.
I'll tell you how I do. Okay. I listen to 10 minutes of news, and the way I got used to this is because I liked when I could come downstairs in the morning when I was pregnant for whatever reason, and I'd ask Alexa what the news was, and she'd have 10 minutes of it for me. And then the other day I was like, I missed 10 minutes of news. It seemed like just enough. And NPR does a Up First podcast, and it's just the headlines.
Yeah.
I love that.
But even then, it's like, okay, so somebody decided these are the most important stories for Lacey to hear.
Well, no, they're literally the headlines of every major newspaper.
So these are the stories that are most important for people of the world to hear. Yeah. And of course, that's going to be a very narrow range of things that you're going to hear about.
The people of the world.
It's things that are acceptable to advertisers. You're not going to hear on MSNBC, the liberal channel, like never has people who are critical of capitalism, who advocate for anything that's threatening to Comcast, which owns MSNBC, or to any of the advertisers. And so like the window of acceptable things there is to talk about is sort of artificially small. And as a result, we're all artificially small.
So they just get us hating people and ideas rather than
the system.
Industry and
right,
like they focus on each other.
Yeah, the problem
How
is
stupid is that guy?
Exactly. You know what the problem is? People who love Trump, fuck them, they're idiots.
What are their flags
Don't they get it?
Waving them around. Right.
And
not, what maybe we should do? Yeah, because the bottom line is we should probably turn off the TV a little bit.
Yes, but if we did, we wouldn't see the commercials. Also, if we're emotionally activated, we're more susceptible to advertising.
I'll buy that damn Viagra pill because I'm so impotent from rage.
So Network. This is a movie from 1976.
That
it was directed by Sidney Lumet.
Seen before, and it was called Broadcast News. So I had not.
Yeah, you said I've seen it before, and then we started watching it. And you're like, "Isn't this a comedy like a nice romantic movie?"
When it immediately started, I'm like, "I have never seen this, sir." Yeah.
I loved this movie in high school, in college too. I had not seen it since college. I remember studying it in a film class, and this reputation is. Wow, this was so prescient. It had so many the things that it satirized are now real in our world, but our world's gotten much weirder too.
I didn't feel like it was satire. Maybe it is too much I guess maybe it may have felt more like satire at that time.
Yes.
I feel like that's why it held up, was because it's still a little too over the top, but doesn't feel so ridiculous.
So what are you thinking of anything in particular?
Yeah, I guess the fact that part of the nightly show that they come up with for this one broadcaster is completely based around him having bipolar manic episodes, and the way he ends every show is by fainting from exhaustion of his psychosis. And that's in the show. I guess that's a bit over the top.
Yeah. Well, and at the time when people would not be movie-going audiences are used to Walter Cronkite and very stiff, starched older white men just sitting there and calmly reading stories to you, this would have seemed wildly over the top.
Well, and the cursing on news seemed very, I feel almost prudish. Like, they couldn't say bullshit. You can't say mad as hell.
I think that, so the story shown in the movie is this veteran newscaster is fired for low ratings, and then he goes on the air and says, I've been fired and I'm going to kill myself, and then that gets them a bump in the ratings. So they're like, oh, this guy's on to something. So they keep putting him on to say silly things, nutty things that will get people talking and watching.
But it's clear from very early on, he's having a psychotic breakdown, like he's sick and he needs help.
It's clear to us. I don't know that anybody in the movie recognizes that. He recognizes like, hey, you need to...
He says you need clinical help. He tries to get him to get help, but that's after he's kind of seen it for what it is.
Well, I just thought it was interesting. You said like this man has bipolar disorder, whereas I think that the attitude of like
in the movie.
William Holden in the movie is just like he's exhausted. He needs some help.
I mean, he clearly is bipolar.
Yeah. Well, how so?
Well,
What is bipolar?
The clinical definition, but I mean, there's two different kinds, and one is, like a moderate baseline, how you usually are, and then you have manic episodes where you might lose a lot of weight, it feels really good. There's a feeling of euphoria. You might spend a whole lot of money. You might have sex with a lot of different people. You might get out of a relationship you've been in for a long time. You make huge choices that seem erratic usually. You might set fire to something. You might, it comes with this like huge wave of confidence and a feeling that you get some kind of big, profound truth about the world, and everything's connected and everything's okay. And you're a Buddha, and you're like, and my one of my best friends growing up would have these from time to time, and she'd lose all kinds of weight and would be so fucking happy, but it was like she was so happy she'd cry, and it was just very disturbing.
Sounds very exhausting to be around.
Yeah. But that's why it's so hard to treat, because they feel so good when that's happening. And then when those symptoms go away, then they just feel a little depressed, a little bit down, but just kind of normal. So they're just not very motivated to treat it, because one of it just feels blah, and I'm not motivated because I'm kind of depressed, and the other one feels fucking awesome.
So it's not like you have the equal amount of depression on the other side?
No.
Then what is that, manic depressive?
Yeah.
That's what that is?
Mm-hmm. And then the other kind of bipolar, I believe, is that baseline and then big dips down. So that's the bad kind.
Oh.
I mean, they're both bad.
Yeah.
Both of them are really what is the word I'm looking for? They're just really disruptive and really hard to keep good relationships, and really, I mean, literally you blow your life up like every 6 months. I don't know. It's probably more spread out than that.
Yeah,
but.
and it's why until recently Pier 1 imports existed.
What? Because
well, that and divorces.
No, my mom did the divorce part all because of her big manic episode. What did she spend? She spent $7,000 or something at Pier 1?
Yeah. Well, no, it's a story. It's like, hey, come in, buy your new life. You can do it.
Well, I mean, it's just funny you picked the actual store. My mom did have a fucking
Well, that made me aware of what this store actually is. That's definitely what they're selling to people, is buy a new life.
Well, why would it be a new life and not just a new room?
Because that's what a new room is. It's a new life.
Oh, okay, Matt.
Yeah, I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Howard Beale. He's played by Peter Finch. Peter Finch won the Oscar for Best Actor for this role. Died after production of the movie. Won the Oscar posthumously. And he goes on the air and he loses his mind and shouts, "I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore." And he instructs the audience, because his whole thing is like, I see through it all, man. Everything's bullshit. No one else will tell you, but I'll tell you, it's all bullshit. And it sounds really cool, although he's not really saying anything.
He's not saying anything. He's just proselytizing.
Which I think is brilliant.
Yeah. He's not giving any specifics, but he starts to. He does later,
yes. But when he gets people who are mad themselves, and this is after Watergate, this is after, as we're getting out of Vietnam, there's an oil crisis, there's stagflation, and the country is just in the doldrums. Can you imagine a depressed country?
I could not. They really had it rough.
And he's like, "You're mad, right? All right, I want you to open your window and yell, 'I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.'" Mm-hmm. And it's a brilliant phrase because it's kind of silly. You feel good shouting it. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't say what you're not going to take or what you're going to do about it. And I felt like that right there is Twitter, or it's just social media. I'm just going to go post.
It was a meme. He made something go viral.
He did. He made something go viral. You could open up your windows and hear other people shouting it themselves. Right. But it was a way to make you feel like you're doing something without actually doing anything, which is another thing that in this Hate Inc. book
Slacktivism
that I read about is this actually makes you like less politically dangerous the more you're watching and getting outraged, the more just the less threatening you are to the status quo, because the more you are in the bubble that the corporations made for you, and the less they have to feel like you're going to go outside of the acceptable bounds of acceptable discourse or debate or choices, and you feel busy, like you're engaged, like you're doing something.
You're not mentally and emotionally doing anything. Exhausted.
Yes. Exactly.
Right, because they're constantly giving you releases of that stress hormone that make you just burst with fucking yelling at nothing and yelling at your mom. And every time your mom comes to visit, you have to have a fucking talk with her. And
yeah. And you're like, "Oh, no, I'm going to debunk QAnon." But actually, everything you say about QAnon just makes them like more believe QAnon more. I'm like, every argument I've had with my mom just makes her entrench her position more on what she believes. These things have been
it's
shown through science, is like you can debate somebody and you can prove your case and you can show evidence and you can get somebody to say you're right, or like the thing I believed is wrong. You show me the evidence that I'm wrong, but it doesn't change how they actually feel about it.
Right.
They'll still feel like they were right. The feeling, because feeling is more important than your actual thought. And they'll just double down and entrench or find some way to explain it away.
It's kind of brilliant to separate families with this sort of thing too, because it just genetically, animalistically, we feel intense love for people we are related to, or we're more inclined to want to take care of them and love them and whatever. And so if you can divide that with things like the news and religion, and I'm just saying, break up the strong thing first, that really starts separating people and making them less powerful. Can you imagine if like your entire family were really into one political thing or wanted to change something? I just feel like
that would be dangerous. Like that family can do stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, a Marxist reading would say they want the classes divided so that they never realize, oh, we all have shared interests and we all need to rise up against our oppressors.
Yep.
But if we're throwing rocks at each other, we'll never realize who the actual enemy is, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, you've also got William Holden as the old school news director. He's best friends with Howard Beale. He gets fired. He starts an affair with Faye Dunaway. Faye Dunaway is the programmer. And
Who
her
is really turned on all the time and very much turned on by showbiz.
Yeah.
And
or just
sensationalism.
Her job. Doing a good job. She knows she's so good at this job. But the big, this movie has a lot to say about the way networks are run, the way news is run. And the big thing, her big innovation is we're going to develop your news show like it's an entertainment show, like it's a scripted show. So I'd say that's a pretty prescient thing. I mean, when you read about how, like Fox News has its sexy lady hosts with their blonde hair and has the clear desks and you can see their legs and stuff. And everything from the way people are seated at the panels to the chyrons to the graphics. To the way everything feels like you're watching a sports pregame show.
I just figured the sports pregame
is way more entertaining than it is the news. You should not be entertained by the news. You should be bored by the news. Robert Duvall is the head of the. It's confusing what all the people are and what all their roles are.
It helped me really understand it once you compared it to 30 Rock.
Yeah, I did that. Like this guy's Alec Baldwin.
That's Tina Pie. That's Tina Pie. That's how I talk.
And I don't know.
It's a very meta movie. It's a movie inside of a movie. It feels like it has multiple personalities.
Why do you say that? Because I don't agree.
Because
I don't agree specifically with it being
the
meta.
Narration of it feels like it's from like some sort of gumshoe like detective movie or whatever, and then it goes into then it goes into this outrageous news situation, and then it flashes to like these intimate love scene, and then it goes to the people being very descriptive about what's happening with them at that very moment. Like, for instance, when the guy that starts having the affair with Faye Dunaway, who's married, who then goes and tells his wife that he's having that affair, and then they start talking about how, well, here's how me and this woman I'm with are going to break up, and this is going to happen. And it's just very like, why are you telling the woman you just broke her heart about how you're worried that you're also going to get your heart broken from this person? And here, don't worry, I'm probably going to come back to you because here's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
they're talking about the plot of the movie.
That specific character does that. He's.
But they're literally talking about the plot of the movie that we're going to see later.
It's like
because everything's scripted.
He's like frustrated with the fact that he's living a TV cliche. I guess the reason I would disagree with it being meta is this is not a movie about movies. This is not a movie about itself. It's about TV. But if you want to say it's a movie about storytelling,
I want to say it's a movie about entertainment.
Yeah. He is frustrated that he's living out TV cliches. He says when he breaks up with Faye Dunaway, this is when the man realizes it's time to return to his wife. The status quo has been restored. The audience at home can feel good. Scenes from next week's episode. Here's ads, buy cornflakes. That's my least favorite part about the movie, actually.
The romance.
The William Holden stuff I thought was.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. I thought it was like very high. Like I could see like the writer of the movie just jerking off while he's like, "You young woman don't understand the importance of the news and the dignity. We used to have something called." Like heart or empathy or whatever, or common decency. But you'll never know love. You're nothing but a small woman. is just annoying. And I don't know where it fit in this story about a network.
I mean, just everything being so shallow and surface and unimportant that long-term 30-year-old marriages don't matter. And this passionate affair that you left that marriage for actually doesn't matter. And this man's constant fading and passing out doesn't matter. And his imminent suicide doesn't matter. It just matters that you get him off the air and don't let him embarrass you. And then everything is treated like, it's a million things in this movie that could have been the big peak moment of any other movie. And they were just treated like, and next, what's next? How about next? It's a very insatiable appetite, the whole movie. You're just devouring up human moments.
Well, because that's going on the whole time, I feel like I don't know why it has to keep finding room for this this human drama.
I feel like they made it very not dramatic. I think that was the point. Like, if they can make life and death and careers not dramatic, why not also show why marriage and people who say they're in love don't matter? Because
it's spending so much time with this couple and they're arguing.
I don't think it did.
Whereas if it were doing what you're saying it was doing, it would be much more like montagey.
No, that would go by too fast. You have to spend time in each thing. I feel like it did not spend. It spent like what, 25%
I don't have a stopwatch.
Of the
I feel
movie,
like most of the if you had to say what storyline takes up the most real estate in this movie, I think it's the William Holden, Faye Dunaway stuff, and that's the thing that has the least to do with what the movie is trying to say.
Yeah, I feel like they could have spent more time on that army that ends up assassinating someone on TV.
Faye Dunaway hires a Symbionese Liberation Army type extremist group, communist guerrilla group, and the joke is like they're such, they're communists and they hate like money and the establishment, but they're like so happy to take meetings with network execs and
they
debate their contracts
right,
and they talk exactly like the TV people talk, and everything's that too is like everything is becoming
everything already is. And if you trace everything back to what is the reason and why is anyone driven to do anything, and no matter how unique or passionate they seem on TV, it's always just about money. Just follow the money. Or, just follow that person and you'll find that they're just walking toward money. The only person that wasn't true of, it was a psychotic person. He wasn't off there going, money, money, money. He was literally cracking up and having breakdowns on and off the air, and he needed help and no one helped him. He was wandering around at night in the rain alone.
So he goes on TV and he says, I have something to tell you. The parent company that owns this network is about to be bought by a shell company that's owned by Arabs.
This is when I thought I was on acid. This whole part.
Yeah. It does sort of come out of nowhere, and
this nothing character, this just good old boy who for some reason owns a TV network, which you can't really understand why, because he's got one line in the entire movie until this crazy scene happens.
This is Ned Beatty, and he's the chairman of the board of the parent company.
The big conglomerate that buys a TV channel for some reason.
Yeah, and you see him, and you're like, this is just some Texas oil man or something.
Yeah, he doesn't know anything about show business.
Like, yes, sir.
But then you realize, oh no, he's part of the fucking Illuminati or something, and he's buying up television because he needs to control people's knowledge of what's really happening in the world. Oh my God. And it's almost like what is the guy's name that's psychotic?
Howard Beale.
It's almost like he just stumped. Well, wait, but there's also that Donnie Darko moment where he wakes up in the middle of the night and he's talking to no one.
Yeah.
And he's saying how he agrees he's going to say that, and yep, he's going to talk about that. And that's the first time he seems kind of enlightened about something, because they've been calling him the blah, blah prophet because he was angry. He's preaching to the people who are already mad. So he's the modern day prophet or whatever.
Yeah, he's like a populist. He's like a William Jennings Bryan.
But then he actually turns into someone who's being spoken to from some kind of fucking
and in my memory,
mystic power.
They do reveal that actually it's Faye Dunaway, or it's somebody at the network who's sneaking into his house and feeding him this shit.
Oh.
But because he's crazy, he's going to think that, demons are talking to him or whatever.
Right.
But they're telling him what they want him to say on the show. But he starts saying things that
nobody wants him to say. Right. He gets too close to the truth, and that's when
he gets called in to speak with Ned Beatty, the oil man, the chairman of the board, who, you know, he got nominated for an Oscar for this one scene where he's just like, you have fucked with the forces of nature, Mr. Beale.
But even when he does that, he goes, was that good enough? Like that is self-aware too. Yeah, the whole thing.
But this is what I didn't get, because I remembered that scene very well, and I thought like, oh, I can't wait to watch that, because I bet I'll be like, yeah, totally. Because he does say a lot where it's like, where I get my most conspiratorial, and I'm like, yes, that's all the world is. He's like, there's no more America, there's no more Soviet Union, there's just corporations and dollars, there's no democracy, it's just a bunch of companies.
There's the McDonald's states, there's Amazon.
Yeah. It's the Exxon Mobil with the private army that can invest 40 years of foreign policy in various countries in Africa because they've got oil reserves down there, and we'll support a regime change here and blah, 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 blah. And everybody else will let you all think that you have your democracy in your countries.
Right,
but
you run your little model UN and your little fake governments and have your little elections.
And he says all of that, but then he's like, and I want you to go in the air and talk about all of this. And it's like...
But does he say go talk about that? I think he says go talk about something very specific, and it's something... Or is it that? Like it is
because his ratings start going down once he starts talking about this, and the network starts going crazy, and they're like, we got to get rid of him. And Robert Duvall says, we can't. Mr. Jensen says...
I remember...
Because he's saying stuff that Mr. Jensen wants him to say.
Yeah.
And so he's going on TV and talking about how there are no countries or democracies. It's all just corporations. Why would a rich person who's... Like, you would think like the oil tycoon would be like, no. Don't give away the game. Let them all think that they're participating in democracy.
Well, don't you think the reason is because he sent a crazy person, a known person to be having some kind of he could point to that person and look at his history and be like, you're going to believe this guy? So it's like
it's like a 4-dimensional chess game going on in the background of this movie. I love that. That's my favorite thing you've ever said.
So then anyone who starts preaching that noise later can be like, okay, so you're a follower of Howard Beale. Neat. You know, it's already got the crazy laid in.
What is the analog to that? There's like a...
I want to help you.
We'll let a crazy person go talk about this, and associating them with this thing will discredit the thing.
I want to say Scientology, but that doesn't make sense.
I don't know. I mean, in X-Files, before the movie Men in Black came out, there was an episode about the Men in Black, who've always been this like idea of government agents who discredit people who see UFOs, and they go like shout weird things at you that they know you'll then go repeat. And then once you repeat them, you look like a lunatic and no one's going to believe you. Mm-hmm. So you're saying that's what he's going on. And the people at the network don't understand that.
Right. Because he's already got
I don't feel like there's a danger of the world figuring that thing out.
I mean, but But the first thing he was saying, the thing about how the Arabs are buying up this and that, it's like, yeah, that is true. But for some reason that was too revealing. He needed him to go all the way with like skip step C and D and go to, because if you skip those other steps that explain how this purchase leads to fucking world domination or whatever, then you sound crazy talking about this last part. So like, okay, you're getting a little close, but if I let you take the trail and feed everybody the information in order, they're all going to go with you and realize that this is fucked up. But if I make you sound extra crazy by telling you everything right here and not telling you how it happened, mm-hmm. then you sound like you've gone one step too far and all the things you said before get discredited.
It would be bad if my network fired you and then you went to another network.
Right, and they've already made that clear.
I'll make them decide to kill you without them realizing that I was the person pulling the strings all along. It's like when you realize, like, God helps people who help themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like,
totally.
God does his work when you never notice that he does his work.
He's like IT?
The point is, you're not supposed to notice it.
He's a ninja?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like IT.
He's like,
just things work.
When I'm doing my job, you're doing your job. You get what I'm saying?
Working hard.
No, I'm saying I've done my job, so now you can do your job.
Exactly.
Work on your computer. Whatever.
That's what I said. Working hard.
That didn't follow.
There are these like like Peter Thiel likes to go and like give TED Talks of how democracy is bad or like women shouldn't vote. He wants to go build an island where all the billionaires can live. That's how I took it. Like, he was being sincere. No, I want people to hear my message. But if this is not a message that it seems like you would want people to hear. If you're interested in continuing to make money, why would you want to say this stuff? I love your idea. I love your theory.
Thank you.
We watched some local news today to try to.
Yeah, but it's a little bit it was less motivating or less inspiring because everything is a webcast and a webinar and a remote this and that. And it's like something about the polished part of the studio makes it feel more, well, obviously, it's just, I need the conspiratorial part, where everyone's meeting in a room before they go out and talk about what they've decided are the best, most sensational things. But when, in the time of COVID, everything looks so separate and apart and disconnected.
Yeah, but I was just, because I never watch local news, I was hoping to like turn it on and see them giving like fucked up Sinclair broadcasting spiels or whatever.
But that's only fucked up when you see them all doing it at the same time in different states.
If you don't know, the Sinclair Broadcasting buys local news TV stations and then tells the local news desks, like, you can run your news desk however you want, but you are required to run this package of stuff.
And make it sound natural, bitch.
And then it's all like,
fit this into an anecdote. Everything's a fucking podcast ad where like it's not supposed to sound like an ad. You're supposed to just build it in.
Right. It's with the idea being
product
like
placement in your mouth.
We've got a problem here. There are people who aren't watching Fox News. They're watching local news. So how do we get them? How do we get them here and what we need them to hear? We'll buy up the local stations. That's a problem. Also,
you're a fool, Sinclair.
The hollowing out of local news is a terrible thing in general. Even at its best, it's just like heartwarming stories about like a veteran who helps like a homeless person or a kid who does something
Usually
cute.
The veteran is the homeless person, unfortunately.
And I remember a few months ago when the pandemic started, Drew Brees, my beloved Drew Brees, announced that he said, Brittany and I are personally giving away $5 million to the people of Louisiana. And we're going to partner with Jimmy John's, which is a sandwich chain
that he owns,
that he has an ownership stake in, and Waiter, which is the food delivery service that's localized down here. Also, he has an ownership stake in that company. And the fucking media was just fawning him, like, oh, what a great man, what a great philanthropist.
Wait, how was he using those two things to
His
help
idea was, I'm gonna spend $5 million to deliver meals, Jimmy John sandwiches, to people who need it, and I'm going to use Waiter.
He's paying himself twice.
Exactly. And nobody asked any of those questions. Like, he went on Good Morning America. He went on
who cares if he's
channels.
paying himself to do his own thing?
You should care because he's giving...
You should care because it sounds really stupid, but it's not like he's still donating something. Right?
He's moving money from one account to another, and he's getting all the.
But people are getting food from it.
The way foundations work is you
but
say.
It wasn't a foundation. He didn't start a foundation.
He kept saying no. The Breeze Dream Foundation. Oh. He kept saying Brittany and I, Brittany is his wife, are personally going to be doing this. I went to the Breeze Dream website. It did say Brittany and I are personally committed to 5 million sandwiches to the people of Louisiana. Donate now. You click on donate now, and it's donate to the Breeze Dream Foundation.
Donate.
That's what foundations are.
Yeah, asshole. You just said him and her were going to personally donate $5 million.
He's saying that, but he's not. He doesn't mean it. He's not personally doing it. His foundation is. That foundation isn't his money. It's
then why does he keep saying personal?
Other people, because he's a liar.
That's fucked up.
He's getting tons of great publicity for himself.
Well, he also stuck his foot in his mouth. At least
this was before that. And people bought it and brought him on Good Morning America and said, this is the greatest American. And people cried. What a great person. I love him. I'm just saying foundations are skeezy and shady as shit. And his is no different.
If I started a foundation because I was really passionate about something and then all of a sudden money started spilling in, I would be so illegal with that money.
You're so right.
I would not know what to do. I'd have to write like a fucking report every year and I'd have to have a board of directors. I'd be like, Mom, brother-in-law Elliot, board of directors, please. Like
J.J. Watt, the Houston Texans player, ended up raising like a shocking amount of money when he plays for Houston, when the Houston Hurricane Harvey 3 years ago was so bad. And I just remember thinking like, he's got to be terrified right now.
Right.
That would be a great reality show. We'll give you $1 million. Try not to commit a crime.
maybe this is not at all like what this is, but like when I went to the neighbor's house to give them some like shoes I thought might fit their kid, and their kid opened the door totally naked. It's just like, I don't know how not to make this look illegal right now. I was just going to give him some clothes. That's just a coincidence. I'm holding clothes his size while he's naked in front of me.
How is that like this?
I don't know. Just so hard not to commit a crime on accident. Like, I'm not meaning for him to be naked in front of me, everyone. I don't know.
I seriously mean this. I would love for a reality for you to. I would watch a documentary where you give people randomly, here's $2 million. You have to make a charity out of it. Don't do anything illegal.
Right.
You couldn't.
Well, you'd have to hire an attorney.
You'd embezzle it so fast. I would.
Like, I'm sick of holding all these sacks of money. I'm going to just put it in my bank. Shit! I wasn't supposed to do that. Yeah.
Foundations.
They're the foundation of charity.
Look into the shady shit Bill Gates.
People keep saying we should do a GoFundMe because, an autism support dog is like $40,000. You should just do a Kickstarter, GoFundMe. Like, if you give me $40,000, I feel like I'm also going to buy a car and a dog, and I'm going to think I deserve it. Yeah. This dog came with the boat. They delivered the dog in the boat.
Yeah.
You have to keep the boat because it's the dog's support boat.
The dog loves the boat.
It's the dog's support boat.
He's very attached to the boat.
Right.
It's a support boat. We've done enough.
All right.
People.
Watch the movie. It's very good.
A good movie. Not as good as I remember it, actually.
Oh, don't watch the movie. It could have been better.
It fucking sucks. We love you. Goodbye.